I can't be the only one that sat down to watch a gory horror movie so bland that I find myself more scared of stubbing my toe on my end table. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 3 horror movies that will genuinely make you look over your shoulder after the end credits roll. The Sadness is a zombie horror movie, but it is by far the goriest and most extreme zombie horror movie I've ever seen. The Sadness follows Jim and Kat, who are struggling to survive against massive hordes of zombies. And I have to be honest with you, the train scene might be the most over-the-top gore I've seen in a horror movie in a very long time. Now, it's not only that the gore is over the top, it's the fact that the kills are so over the top because the zombies are different in this movie. They're not just going around eating people. They can not only talk, but they're almost torturing people as well. Normally in zombie movies, we see the zombies run around and just eat people. That's normally the premise of a zombie movie. Well, with this movie, they take a little bit of a different approach. These zombies not only work together, but they're breaking people's arms, they're decapitating people, they're going absolutely insane. And it seems like they're not just out for blood. Now, the Sadness is over the top. It's extremely gory and, in my opinion, kind of gross. But the storyline itself is still pretty good. Now, the other cool thing about this movie is that the zombies' eyes actually turn black once they're infected. So you kind of know who is who when you're out. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean much because once there's a massive horde of zombies chasing you, there's not really much you can do but try to escape. All in all, I have to say this is probably the goriest zombie movie I've ever seen in my life, and it's probably the goriest zombie horror movie that's ever been made. Hostel 2 follows 3 female students, Beth, Whitney, and Lorna, who are studying abroad in Italy, where they're not only kidnapped, but then auctioned off to the highest bidder. And the reason these clients are buying them is to torture and kill them. Now, Beth becomes the main focus in this movie as she attempts to survive this brutal ordeal. Now, the reason I like this movie so much is because it dives into the human psyche of the extremely rich people and the things that they can get away with, especially with purchasing people just to kill them in any way they want. The closest movie I can compare this to is Saw, but think torture and more character development. It's also one of the goriest movies I've seen, but it's not one of those gory movies where you have to think, okay, I have to sacrifice plot for gore, because it has both. It also doesn't dive into a bunch of senseless killing, especially when it comes to the main characters. Like I said, the fact that we get to see both sides of the coin, with our 3 main girls struggling to stay alive, but then we also get to see the other side of the extremely elite, or technically labeled a hunting club, who are just wealthy clients who more or less buy people to torture them. It's kind of refreshing to be able to see both sides of the story, instead of just seeing the survivor trying to survive, or the killer just trying to kill. Now, yes, this movie is shocking and very extreme, but with Hostel 1 and Hostel 2, they've definitely solidified themselves as a horror movie franchise, and being one of the most graphic horror movies we've seen to date. You finally have a Serbian film. Now, I'm not actually sure how much I can actually show from this movie because of the amount of extremeness that it holds. Not really sure if that was English. The movie follows a retired corn star who ends up getting lured back into the industry without knowing, for a supposed artistic project, not knowing that he's going to be thrown back into the world of corn. Now, this is one of those movies that I would never recommend you watching because of the fact that it's not only banned in 46 other countries, but also because of the extreme nature. There's a lot of suggestive things in this movie, and there's even a couple scenes that are way beyond the scope of things people should actually watch nor make. The film is also immensely graphic. Now, the other crazy thing about this movie is when it was shown at a film festival in 2010, the director of the film festival almost went to jail for showing this movie because it contains such strong and insane things. Now, obviously, I can't go into grave detail of those things because this video will get demonetized and people will not be able to see it, but I'm telling you right now, I do not suggest you watch this movie. The best way for me to describe it, it's a try-hard horror movie. They tried hard to make this movie as ridiculous as possible, especially with the extreme nature. Now, once again, I would never tell you to watch this movie because in my opinion, it's absolute trash. Yes, there is a storyline, but the things that go on throughout this movie are not worth you sitting through and watching because of the fact that they're so extreme. But it has to be hands down the most disgusting movie on this list. Now, hear me out. In my opinion, these 3 horror movies are more extreme than Terrifier 3. I saw everybody talking online of how Terrifier 3 was the most insane thing they've ever seen in their life. But you have to remember, you have to go through all different genres of horror movies in order to find movies that are similar in that way. Yes, Terrifier 3 was gory and did not lack plot or storyline, which is why I love the movie so much, and which is why it was such a massive success. And I can guarantee you one thing, these 3 horror movies that are on this list are more extreme than Terrifier 3. Not the fact that they're scary, but they're just over the top. Now listen to me when I tell you this, a Serbian film is not a movie you want to watch. It is not only extremely graphic, but there's a lot of suggestive things in it that will genuinely make you uncomfortable because they're supposed to. As I said, in my opinion, that movie is complete trash because of the suggestive things that happen throughout the film. As I said before, I can't get into grave detail about what happens, but if you just Google the movie, you will see the things that I'm talking about and say, yeah, this is not a movie I'm watching. And I do want to say, whoever made a Serbian film, the director, producer, whoever wrote up the script, there's a special place for you. All in all, as horror movie fans, we do enjoy comparing horror movies, and in my opinion, these 3 horror movies are just as comparable, if not a little bit gorier than Terrifier 3. Now, if you guys want to see a part 2, drop a comment down below saying part 2, and I'll definitely make that video for you guys, because there is a lot more horror movies that are just as extreme as these, and in my opinion, more disturbing than Terrifier 3. I also want to say thank you guys so much for all the recent support on the channel. It truly does mean the world to me. And with all of that being said, guys, my name is Chris, and of course, I will catch you guys in the next one.